Welcome to the UDP broadcast, a podcast where a group of friends get together and talk about gaming-related topics, offering both informed and uninformed opinions. I'm Luminary, and I am accompanied today by my co-hosts, the Nordic Cajun,
Bringing the Unga Bunga since 1986.
the Eternal Barcode, Imi,
I am the law. Look at me. I am the law. This is my dog, Kid Dog. I am the law.
and from the Emerald Dream, and completely shut down earlier in the pre-show, Rena, the Crit Chicken.
I support the law, kind of.
Also, hello, Banter.
Okay, so we've got up on the screen right now, this is some Warhammer game. Imi, tell us about this Warhammer game. What is it?
So this is Darktide. If you've never played it, it is basically, Mom, I want Helldivers 2. Mom, we have Helldivers 2 at home. That's this game. It's a lot of fun. I don't want to say it's like, I don't want that to come across as like a shitty game. It's absolutely hilariously awesome. And yeah, I bought the game after seeing the DLC came with what is an Arbitrage, known as an Arbitrage, but looks like Judge Dredd. But the coolest thing, and you can kind of see it in the background, the coolest thing about Judge Dredd or the Arbitrage is their dog. You can go up and get back here. You can pet the dog. You can pet the dog. This
To
is the
me,
most
that-
important thing.
That tells you the quality of a game if you can pet the creature in the game or not.
Yeah.
Exactly.
You can't
especially
pet it,
considering-
not worth.
Well, you can
Especially
also butcher stuff in Palworld.
Yes,
That too.
However,
I am a
you
fan of
can't
this.
pet the dog. But my dog has only like a neck left that's still, flesh.
Mm-hmm.
This is Kill Dog. He's been upgraded a little bit.
Just a little.
Kilgore.
Yeah, this is what he originally looked like, and he's kind of just slowly gotten more and more metal parts.
Nice. Before we get into this episode, we have to tell you what we're about. 10% of all revenue sources that we make across all streams that I'm owner of go to the Trevor Project. And Ping has information on that.
He does.
The Trevor Project is the leading organization working to end LGBTQ youth suicide in the US and beyond. The non-profit operates several programs to help prevent and respond to the public health crisis of LGBTQ youth suicide, including 24/7 free crisis services, research, advocacy, education, and peer support.
Thank you, Ping. And as always, this is an opinion show. We have opinions and we're offering them to you, and our opinions do not reflect any entity that currently employs us or anything like that. In other words, we're poor. Don't sue us.
I'll eat your bandwidth, and then I'll eat your document. Somebody ate an airplane. I will eat your servers. If
So
you can eat
were
an
the
airplane,
one that ate the files.
Yep. If someone
It was
can eat
him.
an airplane, I can eat your server.
I'm saying.
Well, we made it to episode 103.
Woo!
And this should be pretty good. Stop Killing Games has been on everybody's radar for at least the last month, and something was released by one of the lobbying groups in Europe. And I'm going to let Imi give more details on what that entails.
Get
Yeah.
your popcorn because it's going to be good.
So there's a lobby group called Video Games Europe. They're a collection of publishers and developers. They basically put out an open letter that says, we understand what you want. You want to be able to play games even after their end of life, all that stuff. We love your passion, but... And I've been reading this letter. None of the letter is written in legal speak, number one, which is awesome. Number two, it's not written from I'm talking down to you because I'm a parent and you're a stupid child, which I also really like. And three, it goes over a lot of things that become problematic and complicated. One of them, which I forgot, is security. When you keep a game or the architecture up and running beyond its end of life, the longer it's up and running, the more opportunity there is for exploitation and, doing bad stuff with it. And if we look at, Source, a number of years ago, there was a problem on all Source servers where you could do remote code execution because they hadn't locked down one thing from, years earlier. So they had to put out a patch to not only the Steam clients, but anybody who had Counter-Strike or TF2 installed to actually patch this issue. So that's one thing you have to worry about. Two is moderation. A lot of these games have verbal, like voice comms, and they have moderation teams right now that sit there and say, oh, hey, look at these filtered words. These people have been flagged. These people have been reported. We can ban them. When you take that away from the company because they've made it end of life, and then you've decided I want to keep using it, the only options they have is to say, well, too bad, so sad. If anything horrendous gets used or said in there, or B, they disable that stuff. But the problem they could run into is hate speech being, proliferated all over those platforms, all over those games, and there's nothing that anyone can do because there's no moderation tools available to ban that stuff. The other thing is architecture. Trying to keep old architecture, old code up and running indefinitely is one of the hardest things to do. Look at DNS. DNS changes names like google.com to an IP address. That stuff had a significant flaw that was discovered 5 years ago, because it had been written on code that was 20 some odd years old. And they had to start patching DNS servers worldwide because of a major RCE flaw, remote code execution flaw. These are things that happen when you try and keep old stuff running. There's an end of life for a reason. And I understand, I would love to be able to play Soldier of Fortune 2 on a server with like 64 people. Those were the days. And even the 1 or 2 128 person servers, man, that was amazing. But that's not practical these days. Like, you have to keep that in mind, that there are things that go wrong over time. But also you're locking people, like developers, into supporting this or only using this one style of coding or language or whatever for years on end. Meanwhile, there's new code that comes out or new ways of programming that come out that's more efficient and better, but now you're stuck in the past. The one thing I touched on last week was intellectual property rights. If you don't control it and you don't enforce copyright, you lose copyright. Look at the mouse. Look at Disney. If you so much as make any sort of Mickey Mouse merchandise or thing and you try and commercialize it, they will send an army of lawyers after you. It is just well known that you do not touch the mouse. That belongs to Disney. They will enforce that copyright. When you start opening things up and saying like, oh, I want Anthem to be, run by the community. Well, all of Anthem, all the intellectual property, all the copyrighted material now goes out into the open domain. And if there's copyrighted music, that's artists who are no longer going to be paid. That's something to consider as well. So soundtracks as well. All of that stuff that goes into a game to make it fun, you'd have to strip out if you're going to try and make it available to the community. And then what do you got left? You have a shell of a game. So I know the AR platform isn't copyrighted. Well, I think the patent's up on this because everyone is making AR platforms. But imagine Colt still had the patent for the AR-15 platform. If they didn't enforce that, they would lose the rights to enforce that platform. So if I made my own guns based off of a video game that was released to the public because the game went end of life, and I decided to make a real world weapon based on the AR platform, they've lost the intellectual property rights that they had licensed to the publisher to use their gun model. And now I can make my own AR platform and sell it. And that's kind of another problem you have to look at. There's all kinds of stuff that happened. And if there's third-party code that was in there as well, like I know way back in the day, there was Ventrilo was in a couple games. There was TeamSpeak integration, I think, at one point. All of those companies, they had their third-party code in there that is now open to the public domain as well, because your game went public domain, therefore their code, which was a part of your game, is now public domain, and that may not have been the original license agreement. So it's a far-reaching problem than just, oh, make it so I can keep playing it years later. It is a much bigger thing, a bigger issue than people actually realize. And I understand the passion, but you just can't arbitrarily say, make this a thing, because there's so much in the legal sphere of video game development that gets thrown to the wolves that now you can have, you know, for a terrible example, Mickey Mouse starting to spew Nazi propaganda, and Disney would not be able to do that or stop that if the mouse had gone public, because it was in a video game and people wanted that video game to stay being able to be played 5 years after, you know, it was released, type thing. So there's a lot of consequences to this petition that I don't think people realized outside of, I want my game to work. I don't think they realize what actually makes their game work. And there's a lot of stuff involved. There's a lot of turning parts or moving parts to those video games to get on your screen what you enjoy. It's not as simple as saying, we'll make it free or we'll make it available.
One of the items that you keep saying here is when it's released to the open domain. What exactly do you mean by that?
So when you don't, copyrighted material can go to what's known as the public domain after the copyright expires, which usually entails you not enforcing your copyright for a number of years. Or if you've got a patent on something or a trademark on something, those do expire and you have to renew them. When you have a copyrighted item and you no longer enforce your copyright because it's been released to the wild, you give up the right to enforce that. So say Call of Duty. Call of Duty 4 would be hilarious. Like Call of Duty 4, if that were to go back and people were saying, I want to be able to play this, and Activision was forced to give up the code to make that public domain, you could make Call of Duty Diapers and Activision could not stop you. Because Call of Duty, they gave up the rights to enforce it when they released the game to the public to be used outside of their control.
Are you talking?
If you don't control,
are you talking in the scope of like just releasing source code? Like, oh, here's our GitHub repo. Have at.
It's everything. So it's, if you don't control and enforce your copyrights, you lose them. So Anthem, if the name was trademarked and the publisher doesn't enforce that trademark, so I make another video game that's identical to Anthem, and I call it Anthem, right now, EA could still sue me and take me to court over copyright theft because I stole the name. But if this law were to pass as written by the petition, the game would go out to the public. It would be made usable by the general public. But now, because the trademark name Anthem is in what's known as the public domain, EA would lose the right to enforce the copyright.
I don't think that like, okay, so the petition, it's literally like 3 paragraphs long. Like, hey, this is like, this is what we would like to see. It says nothing about releasing anything in the public domain or source code or any of the assets.
No, I mean, it doesn't. And that's the best part. Because when it comes to copyright, I don't have to release something to the public domain to lose my ability to enforce my copyright holdings. It comes down to, am I enforcing the copyright? If I stop enforcing it, then I lose out on it. That's why, if you remember, when people first started talking about Palworld looking like Pokemon and, you know, bothering Nintendo,
Since is tingling.
You know, we had to go back, or Nintendo had to go and look at it. They literally had to, because if they didn't enforce the copyrights they have on Pokemon and let, you know, say for example, Palworld was a complete ripoff of Pokemon. It was literally Pokemon with guns. All the creatures in Palworld were exact clones, down to the name, stats, everything else of Pokemon. If Nintendo did not enforce their copyright, they would lose that ability to enforce that copyright, because the moment you don't enforce it once is the moment you've lost control of it.
I don't
So-
think this is really about enforcing copyright because we all sign end user license agreements, right?
But those are valid to the publishing company only when it's in service. So that again is another problem because those end user license agreements are enforceable by the publisher and by the developer when it's an in service in life game. And as long as they control it, they can enforce it. But if I let you run around with Anthem and I let you go off and use it in the public domain because that's what you wanted and that's what the law said, I didn't release the source code, but I made the servers able to be used, or I made the game to be able to be used without the servers. I'm no longer enforcing my copyrights over Anthem because it has been released to the public, which means anyone can make Anthem clones and I can't do anything about it.
Interesting.
And
I'm still
that's-
having trouble following this with Anthem clones and whatnot because I mean,
Especially when you got something like Gary's
I'm
mod
not doing a
that
good job
exists.
of explaining it. Gary, so Valve is other can of worms. They encourage this stuff. So I'll use Disney. If Disney stopped enforcing copyrights over Mickey Mouse once, they would lose the ability to enforce the copyright forever. So Lumi, you start selling merchandise with Mickey Mouse's face, like the current Mickey Mouse. You start selling that, and Nordic, you do the same thing, and Crit, you do the same thing. The three of you are making Mickey Mouse themed everything from dinner plates to cars to huge spray on logos for airplanes, whatever, it doesn't matter. If I'm Disney, I have to go after all three of you in court for copyright infringement. The moment I don't enforce it on one of you, the rest of you can say, you didn't enforce on him, you can't stop me.
okay, I don't see
now
where
I
this
can-
would be a copyright showstopper, and that's so even so. Okay, so let me just project this. Let's not even talk about releasing server software for your multiplayer online game to be still playable, right? Let's just say the developer's like, all right, so player base is down. Is the cost of running these servers is more than the revenue we're actually generating, so we're gonna have to shut this thing down. But here, check this out. Here's we've added in a loopback device inside of this program, and that's effectively just the machine talking to itself. It just responds to itself. It's a loopback. At that particular point, no server software is ever given out. No trade secrets are ever done because honestly, I don't want server code to be released anywhere because at that point it could be scrutinized, torn apart, and just it produces some extra problems. But to be able to use your game, and that's the other side of it too. Because right now you can still go buy, like you can buy a lot of the older games, and you can still play them, right?
Yep.
But
Because they're still being sold by the publisher or the company that owns that
right.
developer or publisher.
So if you never change the binaries in a way or release the binaries in a way that reveals what's inside the binary, such as the music that you're currently talking about and the art assets that were generated during the development up to the time where it reached end of life, if you're not releasing that and it's still just a compiled program, I'm still trying to fail to see where that is. Now, if let's just use Pokemon for an example again, right? We know that there's a lot of clones or Poke-likes. I'll call them Poke-likes because none of them are Pokemon. And you don't mess with Nintendo or the mouse. That's just the way it works. And Nord, you can attest to that, right? Yeah. So
Unfortunately,
yeah. So you've got this idea of releasing into the public domain. You're not really releasing into the public domain. You're saying, hey, we're not going to support this game anymore from a technical standpoint. No new patches will be released. This software is now as is and as it always was, right? You can continue to play this. But if you're talking about like without releasing source code, and mind you, the licensing, and you're like the king of reading legalese when it comes to using programs, right? It's never really about being able to enforce those copyrights. If Nord makes Nordomon and puts a bunch of Pokemon characters in there, but Pokemon, for whatever reason, is no longer being made by, I think, what is it called? PAL Labs, I think is what it is? No, it was something else.
Game Freak.
Game Freak, that's what it was. PAL Labs is Kirby.
Yeah.
I mean, at that particular point, I mean, the licensing agreement's always there. The copyright can be enforced, and it is an intellectual property. And that's all there is to it. So, I mean, if you just have access to play the binaries that were generated with it, that's fine. And you talked about artists not being able to get money from all this. Well, the games have already purchased; they've received their royalties.
Yes. So it gets really like licensing and licenses get really complicated, and so does copyright, because when I own the copyright, it's mine. I can do whatever I want with it. But if you start doing something with my copyrighted material, even if it's end of life, and I've already shut down the whatever it is, the Mickey Mouse Fun Club, if I don't stop you from making your own server, much like WoW, or not WoW, Blizzard shut down those old classic servers, the user, like the community driven servers that were allowing classic WoW before Blizzard was like, oh, hey, look, there's actually a market for this. You remember those, right?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So Blizzard shut those down because if they didn't enforce the copyright and say, you can't do this with my intellectual property and my copyrighted material, they would lose that ability to enforce it forever. Because had they not shut down those servers, they are basically telling the courts, I am letting this happen. I no longer care. And it's not a matter of who has the disc for the game or the binaries or anything. It's who has the rights. And the big problem with that is all of these end user license agreements, if you read them, which I know 99.9% of you never do, they will
That's
always
why we have a
say,
barcode.
they will always say they are not what's known as sub-licensable. What that means is me, the developer, when I license the game to you, I'm allowing you to play it on my stuff if it's the live service game. If I then were to be forced by law to say this game is now going to be made available to play forever, I've now not only licensed it to you, but if you host a server for that game, you are now sub-licensing, what's known as sub-licensing it to everyone else. And that's prohibited. You are not allowed to do that in these end user license agreements. You would not be allowed legally to set up your own server to allow people to play whatever live service game it was or whatever online game it was, because that's expressly written in those agreements. And if for whatever reason I was, as a developer, forced to allow this to happen, well, those music artists, yes, they got paid their royalties when you bought the game or bought the license to play the game from me. But now that you're allowing people to play it through your server, they actually legally get a cut of that. And you haven't sold it.
Those particular items are compiled down into the end user binaries. It's never on the server. The server only keeps track of positions and things like that.
I get that, but it's the client server relationship that becomes a new licensed instance, essentially.
Okay.
So as a server host, you would take on the role of what was originally the developer, and those client machines talking to your server, they would have been licensed to your server.
Okay. So
or to you as a person. So
let's say that we actually take and we modify these agreements for this situation of, what is currently being proposed. Like, it's written into the end user license agreement at end of life, these things, and this is what you're entitled to, this is what you're not entitled to, so forth and so on.
Yep.
Like ignore releasing server binaries. I don't think online live service games are ever going to be able to comply with this ever, because it is so locked down and it is so intrinsically multiplayer that it would take great efforts, and I'm willing to admit that it would take great efforts in order to keep these games up, alive, or at least playable I think the word is functional state, whatever that's supposed to mean, whether it's just you logging in or whatever, right? They could totally disable everything. People get invested in their characters. They do. WoW characters.
Oh,
yeah. But let's say this is all like each EULA or each licensing agreement moving forward to the end user. is modified in a way that makes these exceptions very clear, because there is a plan in place on what they plan to do when they decide the game is no longer viable to maintain. Right?
Cool.
So,
As if I was a music producer, like someone who, like Mick Gordon, for example, he makes or used to make the music for Doom.
mm-hmm.
He'd easily be able to say, well, no, I am not going to make any music for this game
Okay.
or anyone unless it is prevented from doing that, because again, it comes down to his music being used in a way that he did not license it to be used. And you would be asking artists of all kinds, third-party software companies, to either rewrite how they license their stuff or ask them to never enforce their licenses. And once you start down the path of not enforcing a license agreement, then it's a free-for-all, and piracy becomes the biggest thing on the planet, bigger than it already is.
Right.
It's a huge can of worms. And I think point 8 on this letter sums up the licensing part the best way.
Okay.
And it's titled Forfeiture of Licensing and Reproduction Rights. Allowing consumers to create or run modified copies of games would necessitate game companies to either license additional rights or refrain from enforcing them, effectively leading to a forfeiture of control over these rights. And Call of Duty would be a great example. Activision would be put in a situation where, do they really want to make another Activision like Call of Duty game if they're just going to be forced to give up their rights to controlling the franchise? Probably not. Like it's not a good solution. The way it's worded, I get that they specifically said, we don't want the rights, we don't want the intellectual property, but in the legal world of copyright, of intellectual property, of all that stuff, that's not how that works. You have to enforce your rights through litigation to retain them. And forcing companies to allow someone other than them to use their copyrighted material and preventing them from enforcing that copyright claim means they have no copyright claim. So nothing would ever again be copyrighted in the game world. And that would be a scary thing for a lot of people who want to make their game, want to get paid, and want to make sure no one's making crappy clones with malware in them. It's a huge can of worms. I get where they're coming from. I appreciate where they're coming from, because like I said, I'd love to be able to play Soldier of Fortune 2, which came out in like 2002 or 2001.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, I'm old. But it's not practical. With the way things work in today's world, it's not practical.
Okay. I get that, and I accept that. I really do, because I honestly trust your word, because you do read these things. And like you said,
it's
not everyone does.
I do, but also good at the same time.
But I mean,
But
like,
yeah.
there's a lot of solutions. Like I said, live service games are just not going to be a thing. Games like, let's say, and mind you, this isn't to argue any other points, but I can see games like any game from Software right now that has like no live service element. I mean, it does have a live service element in the sense of you can have people join your games. There's some central server that allows you to do that. But the game, if your Xbox if you lose internet connection for whatever reason, the game doesn't stop. You can still play it.
Mm-hmm.
It's great. And that's only because everything's facilitated by some central server somewhere. I totally get that. And we have other games where you have, let's see here. I think I brought it up last podcast with Neverwinter Nights, where it was just a centralized server that listed the servers that are currently running a Neverwinter Nights server game,
Mm-hmm.
right? So while that was shut down, the community actually took it over. Mind you, Neverwinter Nights is a bazillion years old now, right? Even with BioWare up, I don't even know. I'd have to go look up and see how that even came to be and why BioWare allowed it, or how that even happened. Because there's good examples of this things happening, but for games like you're playing right now, that can't be played by itself and requires an online connection. And I think you even said in the pre-show that you are required to have people with you, whether they are bots or actual randos. Okay.
But even Rimworld which is a single player game through and through, would be a good example as well. If Tynan didn't enforce or wasn't allowed to enforce copyright to his game because it was forced to be made available forever in perpetuity, why would he want to work on a new game if he's just going to be forced to give up ownership of the game effectively?
That's the key
So
right there.
like,
Being forced to give up ownership. That's the part I'm having trouble grokking, and that's what I'm probably gonna have to look at after this podcast while I'm processing it. Because
welcome to the world of copyright and how copyright is handled. It is basically you have to be litigious. You have to be suing people to have control, or what's known as control over your copyright. Why do you think music studios back in the early 2000s were so hell-bent on suing everybody?
Oh yeah, I remember
downloading
that.
music.
Napster, the whole thing. Yeah.
You know, it's the same principle where if they didn't enforce their copyrights to their music, they're effectively giving them up. And that's the way the courts see them. It's not the way logic perceives it, it's the way courts perceive it. And that's the distinction. Is you and I and the majority of people understand that when you have a game and I have a game disc for it, I can still install it and use it decades later. But if I start making clones of that, or I start selling that disc or copies of that disc, I am violating copyrights because I was licensed to that one disc, and in Canada, one physical backup and one digital backup of that disc.
Mm-hmm.
And the publisher or the developer should still have the legal right to sue my ass into the ground for selling, burnt CDs of whatever the game is.
Oh yeah.
But if they don't enforce that, then I get to, if they were ever to take that to court and they say they left me for like a year without coming after me, I could just say, hey, you know what? The entire planet's known about this because I made worldwide advertising for 2 full years and they didn't come after me. They can't come after me now. And the courts would be like, yep, nope, you can't go after them. Too bad.
I think it was kind of like what we see like back on the Palworld situation, that everybody was screaming that they thought Nintendo was going to go after them for the characters,
Yeah.
but they couldn't
Yeah,
because they
and that
didn't
was-
actually take the actual assets of Nintendo to make the Palworld characters, which is why Nintendo is trying to do the workaround bullshit of the reverse patent that they're trying to do.
Yeah, and that's the thing. They initially had to look at the characters to make sure the characters didn't breach their copyrights, and it's exactly that reason. So
And it's crazy because not to jump on that horse again, just watching some people like swear up and down that Palworld did that, and then somebody came out and made a comparison to 3D assets of a particular Pokemon compared to the 3D assets of the
that
Palworld.
person who faked all that bullshit because they didn't
Yeah.
like Palworld and they were a huge Pokemon fan.
Yeah, it's just.
Don't get me wrong. There's a lot of similarities between like Pokemon and Palworld as far as like character design is concerned. Kinda. I mean, kinda. Like
It's loose,
legally distinct.
very loose.
All right.
It's legally distinct is what the term would be.
Yeah.
Yep.
That's when it's close but not close enough.
Right.
And it's just such a pain in the ass to make these new rules and then expect either everyone to relicense their stuff or change how they look at licensing stuff. Because what if GameSpy still existed and someone was using GameSpy as the back end? As written, they would have to make sure GameSpy is up and running forever because that was the heart of the program, to be able to, play with other people or, authenticate to play even on your own. Like it just, it's
same
bad.
with same for Game for Windows Live when that was out.
Yep.
Dark Souls 1.
Like I still,
it's kind of what I was
I
alluding
still
to.
could, like I still can't play Bulletstorm because of that. I've never got to play Bulletstorm because of Game for Windows
Didn't they just release a remastered version of that? I think you can play that one.
Did they?
Yeah. No, there's
Oh,
Bulletstorm.
recently.
I love Bulletstorm, but there was a
It
Bulletstorm
looked like
remastered.
it was going to be so much fun, and it's still in my inventory. and it's just sitting there. And I've over the years, I've tried multiple times to reinstall it and try to play log into this debunk thing that doesn't work anymore.
Yep. Here, let me look real quick. Let's see here.
Yeah, it's a large can of worms that, like I said, would require a global rewrite of intellectual property laws, copyright laws, ways of licensing stuff. Like it's just ridiculously massive, the undertaking that would be required. It's not as simple as saying, I'm going to be forced to make this game still available to be played. It's a lot of legal stuff goes into publishing video games and developing them.
Yeah, 2017 Bulletstorm Full Clip Edition. And I know for a fact that game's older than 2017 because I was playing it back in 2010. So
yeah, it says the last time I touched it was September 25th, 2018, because that's the last time I tried to install it.
Oh wow! Now was that the Full Clip Edition or was that just regular ass Bulletstorm?
It is the original one.
Oh, okay, yeah, no, the Full Clip Edition might do it. You can always try it. It's like $4 right now.
Is it really?
It's $4. You can try it. If it don't work, you can just refund it, get your $4 back, go down to the country store and get yourself a 2 for $4 20 ounce of soda or whatever it is you want.
Oh my god, it is Full Clip Edition.
Yeah.
Sure enough. Insta-buy.
You're welcome.
Thank you, sir.
But yeah,
this video brought to you by Bulletstorm 4? There's been 4 Bulletstorms since this one?
I don't think so.
And look at Banana Tune's comment.
But yeah, no, just to kind of like wrap this kind of thing up, because I'm not sure how much this is going to be discussed, because right now as it stands, we have one side, which is the gamers, us, the people saying, hey, we would like this thing. And now we, since the signature's there, we have lobbying groups going, hey, we can't do this because of this. This now starts a conversation for this thing to either work or to be shut down. That's what's kind of exciting about this, which is why I like arguing both sides of this. Amy has a lot of great insight into what's being said inside these EULAs because, I don't know, have you ever seen the South Park episode for the human eye centipede?
What?
Yeah. Well,
that was a mouthful.
So a quick synopsis. I think it was Stan or was it Kyle? I can't remember which one. They got an iPad. They just clicked through the EULA and whatnot. And like 3 weeks later or sometime later, Apple shows up. There was like, hey, you signed this. You agreed to this EULA. So yeah, you need to come with us. And they were like, why? He's like, well, we have, it says right here, you would allow us to do experimentation on you, so you have to come with us. And the cops are right behind us like, oh, nope, it's enforceable. You got to. And they ended up doing the. What?
That reminds me of a software piece years ago that had a very entertaining EULA that basically said, hey, if you get to this part of the EULA and read this, please send an email to this email address and we will send you a check for $20. And in like the 20 years this software is out, like one person read the damn thing. And yeah, this random person's like, can I still get that $20? And the guy was like, wait, what?
You actually read this shit?
The software used to be hosted on CNET, of all things, from way back in the day. But yeah, that was the thing. Like, people don't read those things, and they really need to.
Yeah.
But I want to play my game.
Yeah, the South Park episode. The South Park episode ended up being like this spoof on the human centipede, but with an iPad. So and people, yeah, no, it was insane. I think I was high AF when I saw it, so it was even more insane. So yeah. No. So yeah, no, like I said, I don't think we're probably going to talk about this anymore unless the world changes right now, because anything else involving this topic involves specific people, and that's not what this is about. This is about actual viability of this project, what the companies are saying versus what the users want. And I sympathize with both, because without the companies, we won't have the happy fun things that go in our shiny, blinky fun boxes. Right?
But without the people to play the game, there's no point in actually making the things that go in the blinky shiny boxes.
Yeah. So it's a conversation worth having in a manner such as we did. Have it with your friends. What do they think? I mean, take it with you. That should be awesome.
That's it. Here, take it. Take it for a walk and bring it back when you're done.
Yeah, pretty much. Okay. Let's see here. We spent like 30 minutes on this, 40 minutes.
Yeah.
That's I'm not. It's
It's a
important
big
though.
topic, right?
It's important, and it needs
it's
to be
not-
discussed.
It's important, and it's not an easy thing to conceptualize, because what do you mean there's all kinds of weird rules of enforcement? I thought it was, if I just break it per the letter. No. Welcome to law.
Yeah,
Law is messed up.
it's interesting. That's the distinction of like you don't own the game, you own the license to play it, and it can be revoked if you do these specific things in this document. Like that's pretty much what it comes down to, right?
Yep.
So moving on. I think Donkey Kong Bonanza was in the news. I think.
Nah.
Yep. And I believe the director was asking where they got the inspiration for Bonanza. Cajun, you want to lead this one?
He can kiss my whole asshole. It is freaking influenced by Wreck-It Ralph. You cannot convince me otherwise. Big, goofy, can barely talk, unga bunga character meets little girl in a random spot, and they go take on an adventure to beat this evil, crazy, messed up in the head dude. The exact same thing going on in Bonanza. Donkey Kong can't speak. Pauline's a girl. I mean, a baby little girl now, apparently, from full adult to kid now. Haven't figured out that part of the lore yet. And then all of a sudden, they got these crazy monkeys that have like a brain cell between them, which is pretty much what King Candy was in Wreck-It Ralph. You cannot tell me this boy did not watch that movie and says, I'm making Donkey Kong like that. You're lying to me. You're lying to yourself. Get your head checked out.
Well, check this out.
Drop mic.
Wreck-It Ralph was actually heavily influenced by Donkey Kong. You've seen the arcade cabinet in the movie. You've seen how it works.
Oh no! It comes full circle. It really do. It comes full circle. It was 100% based on Donkey Kong in terms of design in the movie, which is why you don't see Donkey Kong anywhere. You see, well, that Nintendo's didn't want most of their IP in the freaking movie. I think you got Sonic and Pac-Man. That was it. But and Mario name drop. But yeah, his whole cabinet was just like Donkey Kong. I mean, I think even half of his movement in the game was Donkey Kong. Like he threw stuff down at Felix, the guy's name was.
Yeah.
Yep.
But like I said, it comes full circle. Sure, it was a movie character and dynamic based on Donkey Kong, but you can't tell me the way that Donkey Kong and Pauline's whole shtick is not the same thing as Wreck-It Ralph and Von Sweets. You can't tell me that because you're lying.
I haven't played the game
And I
yet, so
refuse to believe otherwise.
I couldn't tell you that 100% one way or the other. But the other part about this is, even in the Mario universe, there's games out there where the main characters of other titles are children. Like take Yoshi's Story.
Mhm.
Yeah, Baby Mario.
Hey, but the thing is though with this game, and I'm gonna have to wait to watch Harrison play it because he's like he shows me things all the time. Like he's ready for.
I think we lost you. Yep, we're minus an Ord, or we're minus a me.
No, you're still there.
Polluted?
There you go.
Hey, there you go.
He's back. All right.
Oh,
So what have you said
what
for
was
the
the
last
last
50?
thing you heard?
Yeah,
Yeah, what was the last thing you heard?
Harrison, what is that guy doing? He's like
Okay,
freaking
well,
out.
We're changing our weapons really
once
fast.
it unlocks Thursday. See that? Yeah, but once that game unlocks Thursday, I'm not going to see the kid for 48 hours. He's going to be playing that game nonstop, and then I'll finally get a chance to look at it. But from what he's shown me, from what I've seen, am I still breaking up?
No, you're good.
No, you're good.
Okay. The storyline is very convoluted, like for the Donkey Kong universe. I know that seems like another thing that's a whole different theory in and of itself, but the original Donkey Kong and Pauline "quote unquote" relationship was Cranky Kong from the original Mario Donkey Kong game back on the NES. Cranky Kong is in this game. Diddy and Dixie are in this game with Donkey Kong, and Pauline's a child. So there's a lot of things that don't make sense timeline wise. So I'm seeing how Nintendo's gonna retcon this with their storyline in the game. But that being said, the game looks fun as hell. I'm looking forward to seeing him playing it and smashing literally the entire map for no reason, just because he can. Mm-hmm. And it's still based off Wreck-It Ralph.
You're
you can get smashed.
You're gonna have to tell us how that is once the Nordling gets their hands on it. Hey, that or we can get the Mechtor review.
Like next Saturday, I will come back with a full review. Actually, we'll bring him in next Saturday. Harrison, come give you your full review on freaking Donkey Kong.
He might, depending on how intense that game is, it might take him a bit. So maybe if it's not this weekend, maybe the next weekend, so he can get a good taste of it.
You don't understand this child.
Oh, okay.
He will stay up for 72 hours straight and play that game. Because when he latches onto something, I don't know where he gets this from. Wink. He goes all in. Case in point, Palworld. He hasn't played the game since the game started. He played with me when it first came out, and it just wasn't his cup of tea. He didn't. I guess he didn't grasp everything when it first came out.
Right.
About a week ago, he saw me playing it again because they had the new update with the Terraria crossover, which is so much fun, by the way. And he was like, "You know what, Dad? I want to give Power a chance again." I'm like, I looked at him square and I thought, "Are you serious? Or are you messing with Dad?" Like, "No, I'm serious. I want to try it." Okay. He goes and installs it on his little thing, and I tell you, the last 2 weeks.
The last 2 weeks.
Just
there we go. Okay, it was another Nord spike because we stopped at. I'll tell you, at the last 2 weeks, and then it was just everybody was hung on. Yes.
Was it 2 weeks? My internet has been spotty all evening. Oh my gosh. Okay,
whatever
last
it is.
2 weeks he's been. We've played more Palworld in the last 2 weeks than I have in the past 2 years. That's what I said.
Okay. Fair enough. That's all right.
And,
we'll see how he feels at the end of the week. If he wants to do it, let's go for it. If he wants more time with it, we can see that too. We hear about how he's smashing everything and everything else.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay. Cool. Let's see here. What else was on the list of stuff to talk about? Which one is this one? This one is... the headline got me on this one. Knowing Steam's players are hoarders explains why you give Valve 30%, analyst tells devs. You get access to a bunch of drunken sailors who spend money irresponsibly. And I feel attacked.
Literally just bought a game for $5, so yes, I understand. And I looked in my Steam library. I'm like, I'm never going to play any of you. But you're mine. You're here.
Humble choice doesn't help with that either.
No, does not.
Let's see here. What else happened? We've covered all the SKG stuff. Bayonetta director. He came back into the news after the whole voice acting debacle with Helena Taylor. And that got kind of shot out of the water and went silent. As I remember, the last time we talked about this was about 2 years ago-ish, I think.
Roughly.
And it was, about this director who was very, xenophobic and was like, if you can't speak Japanese, I'm just going to block you and whatnot. I think things like that. And it turned out that this voice actress wasn't exactly giving the whole truth. And Jennifer Hale got a bunch of shit for it, too, which is terrible, but... Yeah. Either way, he came back and he finally got his wherewithal, and he was just like, "It's taken me some time. I'm not the type of person to let go of grudges, and to be quite frank, my block button skills were not adequate enough for the sheer amount of volume of crap that I got on the internet." And I thought that was a very real statement. Let's see here. What did he say? It says, "My blocking skills couldn't keep up. They were even faster than my blocking." Right, but the reason why he's even back in the news because he was interviewed was because he said, "Now, if you go back and look at it, most of those have been deleted, and I think that's bullshit. I wanted an apology before it was deleted. That's not okay." And to his credit, I'd say he is owed an apology, but people like to talk shit and leave. So it is the internet. It do be what it do. Not saying it's acceptable. It's just there. So let's see here. I didn't even know this existed. This was a gaming award with a Y. And yeah, so the title of this was Dragon Age: The Veilguard wins Game of the Year at Gaming Awards 2025. And I'm sitting there thinking, wasn't that the blandest Dragon Age release that we've had? Why was this thing? Well, apparently, the main character.
I think so.
The main character Rook was correctly portrayed in this. Let's see here. Voice Actor of the Year award, portrayal of Rook in Dragon Age. It had to deal with the issues with not issues. I'm not going to say the conversations that are being had about LGBT youth awareness and things like that. So I'm honestly glad that because we do support the Trevor Project. I'm honestly glad that this actually exists. I need to look up and see how long this actually has existed. But yeah, no, Dragon Age Veilguard and the voice actor for it won awards at this thing, which is really nice. But yeah, that's it. We made it to 20 minutes till half past. Let's do some roundtable unless there's something else that you guys want to talk about, guys and gals and otherwise.
No, I'm tired. It's been a week.
Anything for you? I kind of took the show today because legal stuff.
You know what? And that was the whole point, because I knew that was going to be huge, and you had a lot of really good things to say about it. And again, like I said, it's about the conversation. It's not really about the issues at the moment. Well, I mean, the conversation is about the issues, but it's about how we're going to approach it and what actually it entails, right? So, Cajun, what's your plans for this week?
I'm gonna try to get past today and tomorrow first. It's been a long ass week at work, and I'm still recovering from the post holiday rush that we had this week. As soon as I get that behind me, I'll figure out what the rest of my life is gonna be like next week. Yeah. But I do know that Palworld will be involved. That's all I know so far.
Wonderful. Just wait until you get the Nordling involved in Terraria, so he knows where that came from.
Oh gosh, he's gonna say, "Dad, what is this big eyeball?" Oh, let me show you, my child. And he's like, "I know what Terraria is." No, you don't. Not until you play, sir.
I still need to revisit that game. They've changed so much.
It's like, you know nothing, sir.
Yep. I remember running around with you and Burn and LaFerries.
Oh gosh,
yeah.
the memories of that game, man.
Yeah, that's why when I was still in Austin, that was crazy. Amy, what are you doing?
I'm about to start yelling at people to stop resisting. Stop resisting.
Topical.
That works. Okay. And Crit, we haven't heard much from you this episode, and it's probably because we had a lot of talk. I'm surprised we didn't fall asleep with all the talk.
No, I'm vibing, honestly, between listening to you guys and watching on Patrol Live. I decided to take some night off.
Oh, wow. Hey, you know what? You're
I had
here.
3 lines. I'm fine. I'm
There
good.
you go.
I mean, I got talked over. I got talked over for the first line, so I mean, shut out. I'm gonna take off next week though.
That's all right. She knows where you sleep, Ivy, so that's fine. So that's it.
I'm doomed.
That's it. A little bit shorter episode, but hey, that's fine. Episode 103 in the books. Don't forget, we actually have a Discord server, and on that Discord server, you'll find us and the place where I have aggregated news inside of the news forum. Let me get Ping to go ahead and deliver this. There we go. So you can find us at discord.gg, the UDP broadcast, and don't forget to come back next week for another episode of the UDP broadcast, and this episode will be available on Spotify and YouTube on Monday at noon Central Standard Time. Thanks for stopping by, everyone.
So long, people.
And you guys stay awesome. You guys stay classy. And Crit, tell them what to do always.
Nah, you can do it. I'm up tonight, remember?
Aw. Oh,
Don't
right, my bad.
be
Don't
a
be a
dick. There you go.